Okay. Do I take off?
You take off.
Okay. I hereby resume this second meeting of the Hood River County Transportation District Budget Committee at 5:00 something or other. 5:02. Tia, can you please take the roll call?
Greg Peck. Jeremy. Tamara.
Here.
Matt.
Oh, there we go.
Matt.
Here.
Okay. Cindy.
Here.
Leanne.
Here.
And Bo.
Here.
Okay. We meet today on settled indigenous land, which is the traditional territory of the Chinookan peoples of the Wasco, Rishon, Warm Springs, and Grand Ronde tribes. Let us honor this land and its traditional native stewards, past, present, and future, and strive today to embody a commitment to cultural equity and reconciliation, ecological conservation, and sustainability. Okay, so did everybody get the packet and had a chance to see it?
Yep.
Okay, the minutes are included in the packet. And are there any changes that need to be made to the minutes from the April 23rd meeting?
They were perfect. I move that we approve them.
Okay, second. Anyone have any other changes? Nothing? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye. Okay. Then we'll just buzz through this agenda. To the review of the April 23rd budget meeting, requested information and updates. You have received the updated LB 20, which is the big spreadsheet, right?
Yeah.
In your packet that reflects a total requirement of 14,865,178. Amy, will you please review this for us?
Yes. So I also included in your materials a memo which details the changes that we made and followed up some of the questions that you all had at the last budget meeting. If I missed any, please let me know. So the first item was a comparison of digital versus physical gorge transit passes sold in the past fiscal year. So for token transit passes, and this is just for the CAT passes, so this doesn't include the passes that were sold by other agencies. So digitally, it was 1,474, and then 978 physical passes.
So were those all the $40 passes, or is there a mix of stuff in there?
There's a mix that includes. So for the digital passes, that includes, it's mostly all the $40 ones plus some youth ones, which are the $20 ones. The physical passes, that includes our board passes, and also, I'm sorry, there is a small portion of the token transit passes that does include board or employee passes. But then the physical also includes our Gorge Transit Connect, so our low income fare passes. So those are included in that number.
Okay.
Any other questions on that piece?
So I wasn't the last one to buy a physical pass.
You were not. Physical passes are actually they're pretty popular. Especially since if you consider that in order to get the physical pass, you actually have to come into the office.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And we also, this year, we have seen a large, I put it in my budget message, but the discount fares through our partner program. So like community, organizations like One Community Health, the Next Door, they will purchase some passes, they will purchase it at a reduced rate. But that.
And then they pass them out?
Mhm.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, that has been a popular program. And that also includes the downtown employee pass program as well.
Yeah, sure.
And those are physical.
And those are physical.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so for the operations benefit expense, it was noted, I believe Matt brought it up, that there was the operations benefit expense was quite a bit bigger or higher this year than compared to last
Mhm.
year's is absolutely correct. There was a formula mistake. So I am sorry for that, but it does happen, and I appreciate you all having a keen eye for that. So that has been updated on the LB20 and the draft budget methods as well. That were included in the meeting materials. The next was, we did update the office staff salary scale. So I took the information that I reviewed with you all and then updated some numbers to ensure that we were meeting a large amount of the issues that we had identified with this pay compression, lack of clarity, inconsistent step increases, and absence of longevity pay. I was not able to do all the things, but I tried my best to hit as much as possible while also keeping us in a good financial status. And I brought that to the board for their thoughts and their feedback and to approve, and they did approve for me to then present that to you guys. So you guys have something to look at. And not necessarily looking at several different options.
So they approved exhibit A?
They did.
Okay, got it.
New exhibit A. Yeah.
Sorry. Yes, exhibit A, that is the
Got it, okay.
updated one. And they also approved that language that is included in there as well for the policy
Yeah,
language.
cost of living.
Cost of living,
Okay.
but also the, sorry, turn that page then. There's information of like how, if you are moving up within the
Oh, in here,
organization.
in the policy itself, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I got it.
To make it just really clear,
Yeah,
for all employees.
Is there anyone who's a board member that wants to speak to that?
And we discussed it, and so, I just always support the process. It's just really touchy right now with employees and pay. Yeah, it's, we need to stay viable and competitive for staffing
With other agencies or just in general, I guess both,
in
yeah,
general.
yeah.
In general, I mean, I work, outside, and right now, there's a lot of union negotiations going on, and the hot topic is pay and cost of living, and how do we match it, and, so that's where I just feel Amy has done her due diligence on providing us with information.
And then just to clarify too, because I realized it didn't necessarily go over this as much, but so on, let's see, that is. Almost the last page of the budget message that I included.
the new one,
Yes,
Oh,
so
okay.
this one.
okay.
So the main things that were changed. That is different from what we kind of reviewed at the last budget committee meeting was the field supervisors. And then also what I did is I converted the dispatch and the project coordinator. They are hourly.
Yeah,
I put them into what that annual
Yeah.
salary wage looks like to make it easier to kind of
it
compare.
helped.
Yeah. I kept confusing myself, so I had to make that change to reduce. that
Confusing
confusion.
yourself, that's
Yeah.
not easy to do.
Right? And so the main change was that field supervisor. And the reason why is because the drivers were, I believe they were almost at like step 3 overlapping.
Okay.
And we
Right.
really want to ensure that we're encouraging our drivers to move up within the company. And also when you have, I understand that there's gonna be some overlapping with some positions, right? But we want to kind of reduce that to a degree, especially when you're looking at a supervisor versus supervisee role.
Right, yeah. Okay.
Matt, did you want to add anything else? Kind of from what your thoughts were of when when the board reviewed the salary scale information at the board meeting?
Yeah, I think the only thing that it took me a minute to recognize was, this table is now 2.5% step increase, and then the COLA is going to be applied to every number in that table every year. So something to consider is that it seems like, there's not as much room between each step, and that's only because the COLA will bump everything up every year. And so I liked how it was more granular to see, when people deserved a step increase, they got it, and it reserves judgment for staff to say, well, you didn't deserve it this year. So I thought it was all very sensible.
And the nice thing about the COLA policy, kind of how it is right now, is it does allow the budget committee to review the finances each year and to say, yeah, that COLA should be at 2.5. That makes a lot of sense. Let's do that. Or, ooh, like you guys are really tight. I really suggest you guys be at that 1.5. And what the intent is to follow the Social Security COLA. So we're going off of a number,
Okay.
and to recommend. So every year, what's gonna happen is I'm gonna come to you with this salary scale. And I'm gonna say, hey, based on the Social Security COLA, my recommendation is you guys implement this percentage of a COLA. Now, there might be something where I'm like, hey, this is what the Social Security COLA is, but based on what we're seeing on the ground, I would recommend this in order to keep our employees whole. We do have the grant funding. We can do this without cutting back services. But it allows us to address it on a year-to-year basis and being flexible with what the funding situation is. And again, there's the salary scale policy language in there that for the step increases, so the one that is actually on the scale, it does give us more specificity of when somebody can move up to that next step and not. And if they're having a does not meet expectations review, then it allows us to not necessarily move them up to that next scale until we can work on the performance.
I really appreciate board and staff getting into the nitty gritty of this, because my eyes started to cross as I was trying to do this. But it is very important to get a good baseline down so that you can just let it run,
A fair one.
and a fair one.
Yeah.
And that's why I didn't come to I didn't make suggestions and come back to you with lots of different options. That's why I did go to my board and give them something to react to and to move forward, because I can get a certain point. It's like, whoa, those are a lot of numbers. But I also want to make sure I'm being transparent and you guys have the ability to get feedback on it. Okay. And again, this is all of that language, all of that information, that scale was reviewed by a human resources consultant, as well as the board. So, and the salary scale results in an estimated increase of just over 10,000 in current wages, but an increase of about 14,000 in total personnel expenses, because of taxes and benefits and et cetera, et cetera. Okay, cool. And then we also updated the operations personnel expense. We are currently participating in some ongoing negotiations with the union to update the current collective bargaining agreement. So I've increased this line item to account for changes that have been discussed with the union but have not yet been finalized. I'm not gonna go into detail of those because it's still an ongoing situation, but we are kind of where we need to be, especially with that mistake that we made with the benefits. So it actually kind of evens out. And
I love it when you're
yeah,
One door closes, right?
yeah. So the so is there any additional questions that you have on the LB20 or the updated budget message?
No.
Okay. So then the next discussion for you all today is, to ask any questions, but to think about if there's anything that you want to be updated in the draft budget message or the LB20, or if you want to move forward with it as presented, well, recommend changes. But that's for you guys to deliberate and discuss, and then we still have public comment as well.
Does anyone have any concerns or thoughts they want to bring up at this time?
Yeah, I think she addressed everything they asked for. And so the motion would go to the board.
Yeah, and first we need to take
Yeah.
public comment, so, there's any other,
Okay,
I'll let you do your thing.
okay.
Sorry, I don't wanna
So-
overstep.
So
No,
this is
that's
the
what- no, I was
budget
just
committee.
Asking a question though. If
Yeah.
if I was to make a motion, it would be a motion to the board of the transportation district from the budget committee to approve the,
Correct.
got it.
So,
Okay.
and
That's
then
what
we
I'm
also
asking.
have the tax rate too, that we need to approve, and the staff is not recommending any changes to our.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so then the other item on here, if you are done with your,
I am
Comment?
done with reviewing my the memo and our changes.
yes, as I was going through this, I had a couple of questions and
Yeah.
I go, oh, here's Amy's answers to those questions.
Nice.
So it tracked very nicely.
Great.
Thank you again.
Glad.
So any public comment, any public out there?
There's one.
We have Jeremy is here.
Yes.
Sorry,
I mean,
I'm spurring the process along. I have no question.
okay,
Okay,
great.
okay, I will put on my public comment hat for one moment. Because during the month when, you know, I was just hanging out with people, increasingly I got comments from people about, when is Kat gonna stop at the airport? So that is my public comment back to the staff and to the board to think about, is there a way to survey to either switch the stop from Gateway to the airport or do a triangular here, airport, Gateway and back? Because I got more than one comment that Gateway is just, they don't feel comfortable going there. So,
I have received that same thing.
yeah, so that's the input from the public.
And I'm gonna step in here, and I would strongly encourage, right now, transportation is a hot button in Salem. And everyone who has that question to direct it to our representatives in Salem, because part of it is funding and support the rural transportation programs with funding. And once that's kind of, we can roll that in, because as a board member and as a citizen, it's very frustrating for me to see all these big money projects going into Gresham, Portland, and whereas out here, we're kind of bare. I mean, we're fighting for every penny that we can get. Because that is something that's, you know, a big concern. And so that's one of it, because we're well aware of the need to be able to provide transportation to the airport, and that's a key thing, as well as to the Portland area. And I tell me when to shut up. But I also am part of a process where we're looking at, instead of adding a lane to increase congestion, it's gonna increase congestion, but why not provide funding so we can have even a transportation car, a transportation vehicle to bring folks down from Oakdale, down to Parkdale, down to a closer hub. And those out of the way areas, which is more feasible to do it with a smaller vehicle than putting a bus on there. But somewhere helping to get transportation to those outer areas and bring them into Hood River. Instead of requiring people, if they don't have transportation, either moving to Hood River, and unfortunately, often they have to move to the larger areas, which increases congestion. So there's a lot of things, and I mean, that's main reason why I'm on the board is to keep transportation viable. So,
And I totally agree. I hear it all the time too.
Yeah.
And I honestly right now don't know how to fix it. Cause when we go, because you do have a large amount of people who still need to go into Portland. And if we went to both spots, you're adding quite a bit of time onto the service. But I agree, it's still on my, thank you for bringing it up and making sure it still stays on my radar. And it will continue to, and we'll try to figure it out. And yeah, the statewide transportation improvement fund right now is a huge topic. We're waiting to hear, when the public hearing is gonna be, on the transportation package that they're working on right now in Salem. The Joint Transportation Committee, I think it's gonna be next week, is my guess, is when they're gonna do the public hearing for the statewide
And
transportation.
that's what we
improvement
would comment on under,
fund. Mhm.
okay, if we wanted to
Yeah.
make a comment, okay.
There's the ability to do written testimony, or if people feel inclined, they can also,
Letters to the
do
editor,
in person.
directing it towards our representatives.
Mhm.
You know, those are all things that help. It brings it, you know, it's like that drip. The more they hear it, the more it stays focused. And it's like, oh, yeah, okay. So those are some things that
Mhm.
can really help. And in fairness, this meeting that we're waiting on has been a moving target.
Yeah.
On when it's the whole month, it's like this week.
The past, well, even 2 months.
Yeah.
It's been, there hasn't been a specific date that's been put on the docket, which makes sense because transportation is a really big bill right now. And, yeah, so all the support for public transit in Oregon is appreciated and, yeah, and that those dollars specifically are what fund our Columbia Grove Express
Okay.
service.
I'm just trying to think of how to get that word out there better. I'm sure.
Can we say something if we actually don't think they should go to the airport, or I don't know? I feel like the way the Columbia Gorge Express is set up currently, I feel like I think I like that it goes to Gateway. I think Gateway's okay. And I feel
Or
like,
different points
yeah,
of
yeah,
view.
totally.
Yeah.
And I have no idea, but I feel like when you're going to an airport, that's a lot of resources. I could be wrong, but like just the layers of,
And
yeah.
yeah,
Get into
and that's
that.
why we haven't moved on it,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of additional implications, but also we're trying to meet the overall greater good,
Yeah.
and
I
it's,
see.
it's kind of,
Yeah.
it's kind of tough.
You
But
benefit some, you
Yeah,
make it worse
exactly.
for others.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
And who are you trying to benefit? Probably people who can receive it.
Right.
yeah.
I see, I've got you. Yeah.
That being said, I do recognize that security issues exist at Gateway, and I think that's where I'm really trying to focus of how we can help with that and make it feel safer. And, yeah. But it's all good comments, it's all great feedback.
And then the only other question I had was, you still think you're gonna get the federal money?
Right. Yeah.
Big
Yeah.
elephant.
I know.
We're
Not this
cautiously
much.
Oh,
optimistic,
really?
yeah,
Good.
and we're still, yeah, I haven't heard any issues.
One of the things that the funding, infrastructure has been just kind of a hot button, in it for the past 9 years. And the funding that we're looking at getting, is coming not from like current funds, they're previous funds. So in some regards, they're already there.
Oh, okay.
If that makes sense, I mean, cause I work in K-12, which is another, public funded and very concerned. And, I think this year, I'm not worried about this year, next year, and the year after.
And for us, since we're going into a new biennium, which again has been obligated, and I forget there's another word that's like a word. Sorry, but it's been obligated, it's been signed off by Congress.
It's already been set aside.
Yeah,
Appropriate.
Allocated.
appropriated, thank
Yeah,
you, thank you,
yeah.
thank you.
Patience.
Yes, for the next 2 years. yeah, and again, I think the biennium after that is where we might see some more changes. I will say though, there was just a new grant, award that was, application that was, released, for bus and bus facilities.
A federal one?
A federal one, it's a 5339, and it's what, it was what, 14 billion, 4 billion, or was it 4 billion, or?
Thought it was 14 billion.
It was.
If I
Wow.
remember, correct.
It's
It's significant.
so we are gonna be applying for the trolley,
The pink,
probably
Trolley.
pink.
Okay,
but
okay.
It's gonna be, it's
a new iteration.
a low floor bus that is dressed up like a trolley.
Okay.
But that the intent would be for the city of Pittsburgh. We've tried on a couple of grant applications for it and haven't been awarded it, so we're gonna try again. But that would not implicate this.
Is that
budget year,
seasonal,
next
the
one.
trolley, was that season, the pink?
The intent is to make it, the pink one was seasonal, the intent would be to make this one year round.
Okay, so
Um,
moving employees and stuff like that.
Well,
So
just,
it's
it'd
just-
be on our city route, so it'd be
Yeah.
instead of our little cutaways that we have, it would be a bus that kind of looked like a trolley. And it would do our Hood River City route. So, that's the intent there. Okay,
Okay. No other public comments? Okay, so then we're moving to. Are there any other changes or are we ready to approve the budget? Okay, and the tax rate. Let's see, what is it? And a recommendation to the board for final approval.
Right.
Is that where we feed her the language?
Oh, I can say it. I move to approve. the
Can I get a
budget.
motion? Here we go. Can I get a motion to
Yes, you
approve the
can.
LB20 that reflects a total requirement of 14,865,178 as the committee's recommendation to the board?
I move.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Second. Lots of seconds. Okay, last chance to make any changes. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes aye.
Yay.
Okay, so that's the budget, and then we still have to do the tax rate,
Right.
which is no recommendation to change the tax rate. It is currently at 0.0723 per thousand. Can I get a motion to approve the existing tax rate of 0.0723 per thousand? Anyone want to move on that?
I'll move on it.
Okay, Cindy's moving along. Can I get a second?
Second.
Another second. Any other changes? All in favor, aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes aye. Okay. I don't think there are any other issues or concerns. Hearing none, we can adjourn this meeting. One last motion, please. Motion to adjourn.
What do I say, second?
Are you-
Adjourn, yeah.
Yeah, we're not recessing
Okay.
anymore. We're adjourning.
Adjourning.
And a
Yeah.
second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Happy to.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye. Thank you, Kat, staff and board for all your work.
thank you so much, and just record show, done at 5:31.
31.
And Jeremy joined at 5:07. Just for the record. All right,
Thank you for joining late, because you made me look good, Jeremy.
and Tim, if you could stop the recording.
See you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Jeremy.
Thanks all.